Hello, everyone. We are live. We are dealing with some delays currently, but I didn't want to hold everyone up waiting for so long. I wanted to get people aware of what's happening in the stream. Currently, we've been trying to reach back out to her camp right now to be able to make sure that we've been able to connect with Noelle Famara. Today's interview, she's a candidate from Congressional District 2 in Hawaii. But right now she's currently not here. So what I wanted to just do while we are waiting for her to be able to join the stream is go over some developments that we've had here at the Hill of Roses recently that I wanted to make sure that you all are aware of. Frankly, I think the biggest ones that we have upcoming are the fact that we are expanding our network's portfolio of podcasts here. We are going to be expanding from this one main show into a variety of other content formats. The first of which, and I think this is one of the most fun ones. This will be one that I'm going to be also participating in as a co-host. This will be a bi-weekly podcast. We're doing a tough question segment where we're branching out from just doing politics here and having this more, I'd say more serious tone where we try to get to know the candidates. It's going to be called Tough Questions because it's going to be tough. There are going to be some of the questions that we think are, frankly, the most important to be able to have openly and honestly with those that we care about, as well as the public at large. So these things could be, frankly, religion, it could be sex, it could be food, it could be developing into a human being through puberty and all the awkwardness that comes with that. So we're going to be focusing on that content as well. We're going to be introducing a segment called Thorns and Roses. It's a working title. We'll see how that goes. But we have one of our more, I would say, conservative members of our organization, because we are a mixed partisan organization, launching a podcast where they will be having on multiple of our more left-leaning individuals to be able to discuss a variety of topics. On top of that, we're going to be introducing our gaming channel that's going to be hosted by Nelson Orta, where we're going to be having multiple of our members within our 25-member organization come together to be able to play games, discuss politics, and be able to take, again, another step outside of the realm of politics, because we think, frankly, getting more people into the political process requires us meeting them where they are. On top of that, we're going to be having, on top of this main show, another live discussion show where we're going to regularly bring on people from our community for roundtable conversations. We think that that's going to be very important to not just showcase off, all the content that we have here as an organization, but frankly, I think it's going to be a good way for us to keep in tabs with, current events. Because frankly, what we do here on this main channel is that we try to meet external voices. We try to meet thought leaders. We try to meet candidates like we were trying to do with Noelle, and we are still waiting for her. And we are trying to, frankly, have a little bit more of a serious tone. That conversation, frankly, will be a little bit more lighthearted at the round table. Furthermore, we think we have to keep going outside of the realm of politics to start bringing people into the realm of politics. So one of the things we're going to be doing is having essentially like a media club, not just like a book club, but we want to have a conversation around books, around music, around movies, around TV, and really be able to analyze what involved in those subject areas kind of has parallels to our real life experience. What we can take from that to say how we can shape our existing political structure and just culture in general. On top of that, we have another format. As I said, we have a lot of new content that's coming to the channel. So I really do hope you all come here to see a variety of content. The next one is going to be called Ready to Run. This is a movement to help us go even further down ballot. Originally we were focusing a lot of our energy as a whole movement at the top of the ticket, the presidential run. Then we've been transitioning down, as you've been seeing with these congressional interviews, to the federal level, but, congressional races. And now we want to go down all the way to the local level so that everyone has a starting guide for how they can get involved in politics themselves. Because I think that's really important, frankly. It's just a user guideline on how do you get involved in politics? And I think the local level is the first place a lot of people need to start considering compared to just going straight to the federal level. And frankly, even if you're not interested in ever running for politics, it's still important that you understand what responsibilities do these local officials have so that if I'm looking to support someone politically, maybe I'll turn my attention to some of these local elections because they're going to directly impact your lives. Finally, The last conversation subject we're going to have is, again, we're trying to break out of just having this serious tone. It's important to have a serious tone because we have important conversations that we do need to get to the bottom of and really address frankly. And that's what we try to do here a little bit on the channel. But on this other channel that we're going to be starting, something called Drunk Politics, we're going to be having a little bit more of a lighthearted conversation, starting new subject areas, drinking before each subject area, and seeing how that looser conversation starts to develop. So we have a lot of these developments that are upcoming. Furthermore, unlike what we have today, we have a very set plan scheduled for Sunday where we are fully expecting to have a nearly 10-hour long stream continuously. We have a small intermission in it, 30 minutes, but it's going to be from 12 p.m., taking a break at 2, and then continuing from 2:30 all the way on to 10 p.m. So what we're going to be doing that day is it's going to be called a people-powered, 21st century people-powered government, because we frankly want to focus on how do we make government itself, more effective for us. Because I think a lot of these social changes that we want in terms of policies, frankly, are hard for us to make movement on without government itself first being trusted, first being representative, and being more efficient. Because a lot of these people who frankly would agree to the idea that everyone should have health care just frankly doesn't trust that government is the vehicle to be able to deliver that. And not just healthcare, but so many other services that we all know should be handled by the public sector in large part, because these models, well, they're price inelastic. And so it doesn't matter how much the price goes up, we're still going to demand them and need them for basic survival. And so in that conversation, it's going to be a 10-hour long stream. We wanted to focus on having a discussion about making government work for all of us again. And so we do hope you'll tune in on Sunday for that 10-hour long conversation. With that being said, I think what we're going to be trying to do here in general is really trying to bring in more of these candidates into the fold that frankly fell a little bit short, but need to continue the momentum going, because we want to have people be able to build up their momentum and continue to be able to move forward. Because I think that's going to be a really important, factor for how we build as a movement. Is we need to take these existing audiences, bring them together, and then be able to have, in my opinion, a movement that coalesces around one central platform. So we're less divided in general, so that when we have these future election cycles, rather than potentially having what we kind of currently see in Kentucky with their Senate race, we have a little bit of a divide there despite having two great candidates. We need to have people centralized around one platform and then say, okay, we understand what we need to do. Let's start to coalesce together because we do share a common goal. And sometimes we will eventually, because of this, because we trust we're on the same page platform-wise, we can then move into trusting each other to be selfless and potentially back out of the race. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring in new people like that. And so this past week, we brought in four people, actually. We brought in a new video editor, we brought in 2 writers, and we brought in a congressional candidate to help us out in our engagement efforts. We brought on Heidi Brown to be our president of engagement. And so that's a step we're going to be continuing to take going forward. We just wrapped up yesterday with some mixed results, I would say. We had the Georgia races that had been a little bit on the more disappointing side, with Nabil Islam to fall a little bit short in the 7th district of Georgia. We had Barrington Martin, who we previously had on the program, fall short in his race in Georgia, although I have to say it's pretty infuriating seeing some of the stuff that he had to deal with in terms of the ballots. And we saw Michael Owens also fall short in his race in Georgia's 13th district. So we had a little bit of a disappointing results from Georgia, but they're going to continue their momentum going forward. I know personally from some of the conversations I've had with them, they're going to be gearing up to have a second run at this. So no hope lost there. But we also had some encouraging results too. We had in West Virginia in the Senate race, we had Paula Jean Swearengin be able to win her primary and move on to the fall. So I think that's going to be a really important race for us to continue focusing on. This is a district that we can swing from red to blue. This is a district where we have someone who supports a lot of the key pillars of our platform. And if you remember that interview, Paula was just a lovely individual. Frankly, I have said that was one of the more emotional interviews that I've had, for her sharing some rather upsetting details that had happened in her personal life. And seeing that strength to be able to persevere through that, it choked me up a little bit during that interview, I will admit. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to support her campaign going forward. And, on top of that, it's the whole idea of trying to bring in all these voices is more than just we want to have an audience. Obviously, that's a nice benefit. But the reason we have that is because we want to have multiple stakeholders in the room. We want to build up that representation of voices that we all know needs to be at the table. We have built out diversity within our existing team, but frankly, one of the things that we want to do here is amplify other voices. And so we are constantly looking for that diversity factor to bring in. We have a team that already has some of it, but we want to bring in more older voices. We want to bring in more women into the organization. We want to bring in more people of color. We want to bring in more people who are disabled. We want to bring in more people who are not straight, but gay, bi, anywhere on the spectrum, trans. We want to make sure that we have a full representation of voices, because that is what a movement of empowerment is. It's not just identity-based. We clearly focus on economics. We clearly focus on, criminal justice. We clearly focus on democracy. But we do understand that there's some level of intersectionality, that there is not one common experience. They are broken up into different groups that have different lived experiences and have these policies disproportionately either include them or not include them. We need to have all those voices at the table so we can best make decisions. And even if we don't come to the conclusions specific members of the group have, it's valuable that we take their insights into the fold so that our preconceived notion of how we want to address something is either improved on a technical level in the policy, or it's at least improved on a messaging level, because that's a very important part of politics itself as well. We want to make sure that the way we are communicating our message, that is very a common sense message, like to some in the existing establishment, it seems a bit radical. But we know that when we talk to people about these issues, just straight up, it's not a radical concept. These are common sense solutions. And so we should not scare them off with how we message these things. We want to have people hear our ideas in the way they can currently process them. Just like we are doing new formats on the channel, so too do we need to do our actual political messaging in that same format. Speak to people where they are. And so, today has been a little bit of a delay. We've been trying to continue this movement, being able to interview candidates. We have not been able to connect with Noelle. We've tried reaching out. She seemed to be aware of this beforehand. She's a lovely candidate, and so we are looking to bring her back on at a future time. But at this point, we wanted to make sure that we communicated with you. We didn't leave you straggling too long. And so we're going to be trying to get her back on the calendar at a later point. But for now, I wanted to just see if anyone would have any questions. I'm going to give just a little bit of time to open the floor, be able to continue this discussion, and then we'll wrap up and we'll look to try and reschedule with Noelle at a later date, because I think it is important that everyone hear her message, because I do think that she stands for a lot of great things. If you want to go check out her platform, you're going to see it scrolling across the bottom of the page at electnoelle.com. So I think that is a worthwhile venture to do. She's trying to run in Hawaii's 2nd district. You may be asking yourself who is running in that seat already. This was Tulsi Gabbard's former seat, and Tulsi had committed to not running again for Congress. And so this is an open seat. And I will tell you, she does have stiff competition in this field. I will tell you this right now. I think she's a wonderful person, but she has a very big uphill battle, because there are some candidates that have already been endorsed by like the DNC organizations of their group. Kai Kali is one of the major names within that I fully expect is going to be kind of hard for her to overcome. But I think she needs our support, because I think we need to build more than a one cycle movement. But you need these people to start getting the name recognition in their districts and across the nation, so that when they run again, they have more momentum going for them. And I think that's going to be a really important factor for Noelle. And frankly, we should just be rising up multiple voices that support our common platform. We need to show that this movement has champions, not just in one part of the country. We've interviewed a lot of candidates from New York. We interviewed a lot of candidates from Oregon, but this goes everywhere across the country. And so we look forward to being able to have her on in the future. So Noelle, no hard feelings for now. We will look to reschedule with you and be able to have an interview at a future date. Rosebuds, thank you for being here today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be speaking with Robbie Goldstein from Massachusetts. And then on Friday, we're going to be speaking with Lindsey Boylan from New York. We believe those are going to be both great interviews. You may be asking yourself, why are you bringing on Lindsey? You've already endorsed Jonathan Herzog. But here's the thing, you can respect multiple candidates in the race, and you want both of them to be elevated because either choice is significantly better than the existing incumbent, in this case, Nadler. And we want to have friendly relationships with all the candidates that we consider good candidates. We may prefer, in my opinion, Jonathan Herzog as the candidate. But Lindsey's a great candidate, and I'm looking forward to being able to speak with her because if she is to win, I look forward to supporting her in the fall. I look forward to hopefully having some working relationship so we can try and get more of her agenda across if she is to win. And I think that's a really important thing that we need to do. It's not just completely burn bridges when we do pick a side, because it's important that we do pick sides, but it's not a good thing to try and burn bridges in that process. It's why we advocate for so many voting reforms that help encourage a decrease in polarization and more collaboration within the democratic process. So look forward to seeing these developments come about. Thank you all for tuning in. I look forward to being able to interview Noelle at a future date. So I'm sorry if you were looking for that interview. We apparently did not catch her at a good time despite our confirmations of scheduling. So we look forward to speaking with you all again. I hope everyone out there is staying safe out there because frankly, it's scary on multiple fronts, economically, health-wise, protests. There's a lot of things to be a little bit nervous about. And it's not specifically the protests, I should clarify. It's some of the police reactions, some of the, 2% maybe within a protest. I had that certainly happen in some of the protests I've been to this past week. So I hope you all are staying safe out there. And as always, I hope you stay rosy.